Lieutenant Jensen also had a wife who was bipolar. She was a wonderful woman when she was, you know, doing well. But she was also suicidal. And so Charles gave Lieutenant Jensen a blessing that he would return and his family would be all right while he was gone. And then we also prayed for his wife, that she would be able to handle it while he was gone. But to be sure that she was going to be okay, we said, we will keep our cell phone on by us day and night. So when we went to sleep, we were sure that cell phone was laying right by our head. You call us if you need us. If you get feeling like you might do something that would be harmful to you, you call us. She never called the whole time that he was gone. And their little son was really acting out. He's the kind of kid that, you know, the first thing is, I'd like to grab him. He would not mind his mother, but what he was doing is he was acting out like a lot of kids do whose parents are going to deploy, going to be in the military, who are in the military and going to be gone for a long time, and they don't know what's going to happen to their parents while they're gone. So, also, the deploying soldier may face a lot of financial burdens while he's gone. Particularly our soldiers here in Corvallis, down here at our unit, here on Kings Road, they're in the National Guard. Now they've got a job that they work at while they're in the National Guard. When they're called, of course, they're not getting a paycheck from that job. And the pay for the Army soldier is very, very low. And so they can really be hurt financially by the service that they're giving. So let's say that the soldier goes, and when he gets to his point of deployment, he's in a very different climate than he was, well, in Corvallis, for instance. In Afghanistan, it's very, very different. It can be very hot there. They are not that far above the equator. It can also be very difficult for them to acclimate. I don't think anybody acclimates in less than 2 weeks, and a lot of times it's longer than that. But on top of that, they're also in an atmosphere, they have got to watch their back every minute, because they always know that a sniper could be pointing his gun at them, particularly if they're in one of the forward units. And so they have a lot of tension that way. When you combine homesickness, tension from being afraid that you could be shot at any time or step on an IED, and the change in the climate and everything like that, it causes what they call battle fatigue. And when the soldiers have battle fatigue, they can be more susceptible to getting what I think you've heard of PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. It comes from, and about 50% of our soldiers experience this, maybe seeing someone injured, shot, being injured themselves, or having something traumatic happen, like here's your buddy, all at once he steps on an IED and you're blown over here, and he loses maybe a bunch of limbs or his life. And then there's a slogan that the Army has, and it's never leave a fallen comrade. And when something happens to your comrade, you're going to help him, even if it means that you pick up the body parts. You can't imagine the stress that could cause a person. So the soldier gets very psychologically tired and can have a lot of flashbacks. And so when his 9 months is up over there in the war zone, and he comes back to his family, he's a new person. He is a new person. He's not the person that left, nor probably is the wife the same person that was left there when he went away. She's got a whole checkbook, and she may not want to give it back. A lot of times, what happens is the soldier leaves the credit card. He comes back with $10,000 worth of debt because the wife couldn't quit using the credit card way over and above the amount that she should have. And so he could be turned to a mountain of debt, and this is going to cause a lot of stress. But one of the big things is, okay, Sergeant Ryan, you're coming home from deployment, and you have had 10 men under you, and you've told them when to stand up and when to sit down. And so he comes home to his family, and all at once, he's got 3 children, and they don't like to be told when to stand up and when to sit down. We work with the parents, and we try to help them to realize, you've got to give it time. You've got to give it time. You've got to be patient. But if we didn't want the spouse to suffer emotional and physical abuse, and so we let them know that if you are in danger, you call immediately and get help. Don't you try to be Mrs. Brave and suffer it out. Because when a person has PTSD, they get emotionally disconnected with the people around them, with their family, with their friends. They don't relate well to people. And so if they're to this emotional state where there's violence in the home, there's constant tension, these people need some intervention, and we help them get it. Here's the big thing, though. This was what happened with a lot of people that we were acquainted with. Okay, Charmaine, husband Brian, deployed 5 months ago. He's gotten battle fatigue. He doesn't talk to her on the phone. He's acting, she thinks he's just like a jerk. And so she calls him up one day and says, I want a divorce. Because divorce seems like it might be the fix for getting out of a situation like that. Actually, it creates a lot more problems. And this family had 2 little boys. We were already acquainted with Charmaine pretty well because with her husband gone, we were checking in on her regularly to see how things were going. And we'd pay a visit at least once a month to her home. And when, okay, the door opens, Caden sees Charles. He grabs onto his hand. Caden's 2 years old. Come on, play trains with me. So Charles would go upstairs to the playroom and play trains with Caden while I talked to Charmaine. And we got her feeling like it would be a good thing to take a marriage class. And Charles and I developed this curriculum where part of our class was spent on the sanctity of marriage and how it's a sacred sacrament with the Lord, and we spent a lot of time on communication. And so Brian had gone to a psychiatrist over there in Afghanistan. He was having sessions with him. Brian would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, be ready to go on Skype. Charmaine would get the kids down to bed, and then we'd come. And for about 10 weeks, we met with Brian and Charmaine. Brian over in Afghanistan, Charmaine on the couch between us. And we talked about these things. And we sent by email things that Charmaine and Brian could practice between them. And you know what was on their balcony when Brian came home? This great big banner. Welcome home, Sergeant Kunzler. We were so happy to see the progress that family could make by using some good communication principles and recognizing what they have. We just got a Christmas card from them, and they're doing great.
Oh, super.
So, I don't want to take a lot more time, but the post-war effects on a family can be pretty tough. And we regularly taught spouses how to keep from triggering stress and tension in the soldiers when they returned. Made them aware of the danger signs and what to do about it. When we arrived at Fort Stewart, ever since the beginning of the Iraq War, our church had sent people down there to help the families. And so it was 12 years. 12 years of people loving and caring before we came. There was someone to follow us up after we left to give that love and that care that is so much needed, and be able to help families. We went on our own expense. We weren't paid, but it was, when you talk about pay, the blessings that we receive and the help that we receive from the Lord in accomplishing the many diverse things that